Welcome, believers, patriots, fellow Americans, friends, and family, to this special edition of The Grid. We have some breaking news. The Supreme Court just ruled on the immunity case regarding Donald J. Trump. Now, if you didn't know that this case was even before the Supreme Court, let me give you just a quick brief bit of context. So regarding January 6th, so Special Prosecutor Jack Smith is prosecuting Trump for several different crimes regarding January the 6th. Most notably, that he interrupted, or that he, an obstruction, I should say, obstruction for official proceedings, and that for insurrection, although he's not calling it insurrection because Trump it doesn't meet that threshold. Well, Trump claimed absolute immunity. He said, I was the president of the United States. I was still in that role. You can't prosecute me for things I was doing in that role. So the Supreme Court just ruled on that today. And here is what's interesting. If you go to CNN, at least when I went to CNN this morning, they said that Trump has partial immunity. He has some immunity. Then you read the story and you realize, guys, what a crock. What a lie. No. That is not what the Supreme Court said. What the Supreme Court said is the president has absolute, undeniable, full immunity for all acts that are done while he's in the duties of his office. And presumably Trump is arguing that, hey, I am trying to ensure fair, honest, legal elections, and that elections aren't full of fraud. So those duties on January the 6th is exactly what I was doing. I was in the process of enacting those duties that are required by the President of the United States to protect our Constitution. Now, the prosecution, Jack Smith, can make the claim that maybe those acts were done, personal acts, which is what the Supreme Court said is no, a president is liable, can be prosecuted for those acts that are done, what would be called personal acts. So an example would be the president can't walk down the street and then murder someone and then call that an official duty of the United States. I mean, that's pretty clear. But nonetheless, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that he has absolute immunity in regards to those official duties. Let's take a minute and a half or so and listen to Trey Gowdy as he analyzes this case.
Do we have a sense yet how it could, this interpretation of official or unofficial acts, what that means, whether it delays these cases, whether it pushes them back?
Well, I don't think we know yet. It's certainly not a victory for him. I don't even think it's a tie for him. I don't see how you can sort out. Look, our Constitution is majestically vague about what presidential powers. We know the president has the pardon power, but honestly, Commander-in-Chief, what other powers are there? So you have express, you have implied, and then you have this word penumbra. What's in the shadows of those express powers? That can only be fleshed out in litigation. The Supreme Court doesn't handle litigation. So if he wants to proceed on what is unequivocally a private act, he's welcome, I guess, to proceed with that prosecution, but that's still going to take time to assert that it is unequivocally private. This is not a win for Jack Smith. How close to a tie it is depends upon what the remainder. You'll remember, Brett, when John Roberts was confirmed, he said he was a minimalist. That was the word he used. He talked about judicial humility and that he was a minimalist. It is not surprising to me that he wrote the majority opinion. He wants to write it in a minimal way. So there is no bright line rule. It's going to be fact specific.
I always love Trey Gowdy. He has such a simplistic way of analyzing complex issues. But here's one thing that Trey Gowdy did not talk about, and presumably because it wasn't really known yet, is within the conversation around this case, something that Clarence Thomas said, and I will tell you, this should scare the Democrats more than the immunity itself. Thomas said, I am not sure. I think there are serious constitutional questions to the appointment of Jack Smith as a special counsel. I don't believe that the Constitution or Congress has made a path for a special counsel to be appointed, particularly in this case, and in this case, Jack Smith being a private citizen, that there are very serious constitutional concerns, and likely Merrick Garland violated the Constitution in appointing Jack Smith. That ought to scare the bejeebers out of the Democrats, because if that's true, and which was also part of Thomas's commentary, that if Jack Smith was illegally appointed, then likely everything he's prosecuting Trump under would be thrown out because he would have no statutory authority to do this prosecution. This is huge. Can it get any worse over the last week if you're a liberal-loving, progressive, Biden snuggling Democrat? It has really, really been tough for them. I'm not gloating in victory yet because I've seen way too many times where conservatives snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And we've given a victory where there was none to be had. So more to come, we'll see. But I think now you're going to see a real legal battle over the very fact of Jack Smith is even appropriately appointed. And if not, then many of these cases, or these federal cases, including, I believe, the classified documents case, they're going to go away because there's absolutely no authority. Merrick Garland has no ability to prosecute. Thanks for tuning in to this special edition of The Grid.